Here we go.
Recording in progress.
Yes. So this is the lady who gives us the sign so that we know that we are recording this. And here we are recording. Thank you so much, Emma, for being here. It's actually the first time that we're talking, right? That we're video chatting.
Yeah, first time we've met.
Yes. It's our very first conversation. So this should be interesting. The thing is, like I always say, I try to talk to people that I have been stalking or following now for quite a few months or years or so, and that's also your case. So I've been looking at your stuff. Your work is just unbelievable, super original. At least that's what I think. And so this is why I have been doing it over now, I'd say over a year or two, probably that. So I looked at your profile and I was a bit surprised when I saw that you actually studied English literature and language and literature, right? So
Yeah.
could you present yourself and start by talking a little bit about how you entered this language world?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, as with most writers, I've always been a lover of the written word. Ever since I was a kid, I was one of those reading kids that would always get books for Christmas and birthdays or book vouchers. And I'd go to the kind of WH Smith, the stationery chain in the UK, and choose a book. So it was always something I've loved, always got good grades in it. So it just felt natural just through college and university to just stay studying English. I didn't have a plan. Um, I kind of figured you can use English for most careers. So at that point, I was
Okay.
just like, do what you like, do what you're good at, do what you know, and then kind of hopefully you'll figure the rest out later on, which of course I absolutely didn't, because I graduated into
I'm sure you
I
did.
think it was the 2008 or 2009 recession that I
Mhm,
graduated into, and it was impossible to find work anywhere.
mhm.
So I ended up working at Starbucks and saving for a master's, and I went back to my same university in London and did creative and professional writing as
Mhm.
a master's, and they would take us through several different writing disciplines, from script writing to different forms of fiction, journalism. Becoming a writer in residence was one of them, which is incredibly specific now I think back on it. I think it's because the lecturer who took that particular module had been writer in residence for the London Science Museum. So he
Mm.
was like, this is how to be a writer in residence. And I thought, well, that's wonderful, but I'll never use that. And even then, I still didn't know that I could work as a copywriter. That
Mhm.
wasn't covered at all under any of these incredibly specific modules
Mhm.
about being a children's fiction author or,
Mm.
a journalist at the Financial Times and stuff. I was like, well, I'm never going to do any of that.
Yeah, there's that disconnection in most situations between what you do in college and then what you actually have in real life. And sometimes
Yeah,
we even feel like, oh my God, what kind of career am I going to have? None of this
it all just felt way
translates.
too difficult.
Hmm.
I was just wasn't competitive enough to be a journalist, or so I thought at the time.
Hmm.
And I didn't have enough good ideas to be an author, but I knew I wanted to get paid to write because it's one of the things that I'm naturally good at. And I just feel like you should, if where possible,
Hmm.
always do what you're good at. So yeah, eventually I ended up taking a customer service role, but as part of that, I kind of had pitched myself to the very small company at the
Hmm.
time. They were an e-commerce company, and I was like, I've just finished a writing degree. Look at this blog that I've written. And at the time, blogging was a big thing. I
Yeah.
was like, I've got this blog that I've done myself, and I can write you a newsletter, and I could even write the website. So they kind of got a 2 for 1. And then
Mm.
gradually I was like, no, I need to make writing my career. And eventually I kind of became a copywriter, and things went from there, really.
So you
But
made yourself necessary and available at the
oh
same time.
yeah. Yeah, you're hiring a customer service person, which was but one of the worst jobs I've ever had. I am not made for customer service. I'm so irritable, and I just get enraged instantly. If someone has messaged me, first message, they've taken a tone, oh my goodness. it was a real struggle. That is when you need a good command of language when you're
Yes, for
working in
sure.
customer service. And
Yes.
because certain words and phrases are instantly inflammatory, aren't they? So I needed to get out of that job and move more towards the writing. And they gave me all
More
of their social
creative.
media. Yeah. The newsletter, the website, and I kind of then was able to build a portfolio to take to an actual copywriting job and
Hmm.
say, I've been doing all of this. I've written print adverts and whatnot. Can you please hire me? And luckily, I
They
managed to
did.
get into a job. Yeah, where they were happy to train me as well
Mm,
as a junior. So
mm,
they were kind of teaching me the principles of marketing as I was going along, which was just fantastic. I adored that job.
mm.
Um, so
So,
much so that I had to go freelance afterwards because I was never going to work for anyone else.
well, I know that. We'll get there in a minute. So, in that case, was this when you worked in fashion? Was this the e-commerce company you were mentioning?
No, the one that I absolutely adored was an online print company called printed.com.
Hmm.
And they were B2B facing, so more
Mm,
angled towards creatives and printers who needed to outsource their work rather than kind of direct to consumer like your
mm,
good prints and your Vista prints and
yes.
whatnot. But they were kind of like the young fun version, so
Mm,
I got to just have a lot of fun with their tone of voice, and it was very relaxed and it was very playful um and quite tactile writing as well. So whenever they would get new paper samples in, they needed to be able to describe how the ink would sit on that specific paper. So if it had a coating, the ink would sit on top, so it would be a lot more vibrant, a lot more crisp. The colors would be a lot bolder. But if it was an uncoated paper and the ink would sink in, then you would get a more muted, softer kind of finish. And if they were pearlescent papers and whatnot, so like getting to kind of, I would have these samples and I'd kind of be up close and I'd be touching them and I'd be kind of thinking of ways to describe the fibers and the kind of texture
mm.
of it, and it was very sensorial, and it allowed for a lot of creative language in
Just
that
about
sense.
paper.
About paper, I mean, it's Fedragoni paper, so it is
Oh,
the king of the papers, but
if you say so.
I never cared about paper before that job, but ever
Yes.
since I'm there touching them and I'm like, oh yeah, that's 200 GSM uncoated, that one.
Oh, I see. It's like the
Yeah.
Egyptian cotton for sheets. I see. It's very
Yeah.
fancy in the States, they say.
Yeah. You learn to kind of identify the premium
Huh.
paper stocks on site.
Hmm. So you got so inspired, not
I
expired.
expired.
No, definitely not expired. That you decided to go freelance and started doing
Yeah.
your own thing just like that.
Yeah. Well, I was the only writer at that company because they were quite small and I'd been there for about 5 years.
Hmm.
And when I started, I was writing for a portfolio of companies that they had. They had this Instagram wrapping paper company that was like a really fun, like all the influencers were using it and stuff, and it was like connected to your Instagram. So I was writing for that as well. And then I was writing for Good Print, which was more writing that needed to be suitable for translation across many different languages.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite direct, quite straight. So I was able to kind of bend and flex my skills a lot at the beginning. But towards the end of my tenure, at the 5 year mark, I was only writing for one. I couldn't climb any higher because I was the
Mm-hmm.
only writer. And so I was like, I need a challenge. And I'm the kind of person who is so incredibly comfortable with just being handed the marching orders and then just doing that job. And I thought, like, I
No,
can't allow myself to do this.
I
I
don't
need to
believe you.
see. No, it's true. I just needed to see what I could achieve if I was on my own and there was nobody telling me what to do. So that's why I did it. And it was
Ugh.
trial by fire because I had nothing. I just started.
But you had a lot of
Um,
knowledge from working with companies and
Yeah, but not a lot of confidence. And I think that
hmm.
in order to use what you know, you have to have the kind of balls to go out there and ask for what you want, or to, march in and say, I've got this experience. I'd be fantastic. Give me the opportunity. Like if you secretly don't think you're good
Mhm.
enough, I think it comes across in little tells and hesitant language and
I see you as
stuff.
super confident. I'm like watching your videos and all that stuff. And I'm always wondering because I don't know what it means. Maybe it's some British thing that everybody knows, but I don't know. So you chose for the name of your company, I have to read Jot Jot Boom. Is that how it
Yeah.
goes?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I chose that because a couple of the other name ideas I liked had already been taken.
Mhm.
And I wanted something that was a little bit snappy and had a bit of attitude. And you
Yeah,
know,
a
when
bit
you complete
musical
something,
somehow.
yeah, and you're like, boom, it's done. Like, oh,
Yeah.
but so I just thought, Jot Jot. I don't know. It was so long ago now, and I can't.
So is that a matter of sound, this Jot Jot part, or does it mean something?
Jot like to write,
Mm.
so it would be kind of writing, and then boom, it's done.
I
Results are yours.
see. Hmm. So this is when you started your blog, or did you continue this blog you had started years and years ago? How,
Oh
because I know you
no.
have a blog, right? So what's the story with this current blog?
So the current blog that I'm running has gone through a lot of different iterations. It started out as being a way for me to it was an inbound marketing tool, and I was using it just to be so playful, and it's massively backfired on me over the years. So I wrote a blog post about collective nouns because I'd picked up a book called
Okay.
An Unkindness of Ravens, and it was all about collective nouns for animals. And I just loved the idea because they're so delightful. And so I wrote a blog post listing out some of my favorite collective nouns for animals, like a cauldron of bats and a kaleidoscope of butterflies and a
Hmm.
thunder of hippos. And I thought it was so funny.
Hmm.
And now, several years down the line, I'm the number one result on Google for cauldron of bats, and it gets me so much traffic every month, and it's useless traffic.
Oh, I see. They're not actually looking for you, right?
No, they just want to know is it cauldron of bats? And
Ah.
this is not the first time I've done that. I wrote a blog post on 2000s slang that we need to bring
Mhm.
back, and I was kind of like, what are some of the things in that biatch
Yeah.
and scrubs, like, and I wrote this whole like really funny post, and yeah, it's page one of Google now. It gets me
I
thousands of
see. That's how you operate, huh?
results.
In this
It's
twisted
yeah,
way.
but it's all useless traffic. I've got a blog post on Cockney rhyming slang, which does very well for me. One on Old English insults, which got
Oh.
40,000 views last year because of a Christmas film that Apple brought out called Spirited, that's
Hmm.
got a song in it called Good Afternoon. And they're basing it on A Christmas Carol.
Uh-huh.
So they're kind of singing a song about how in Dickensian England, good afternoon's an insult. So on Christmas Day, everybody heads to Google, is good afternoon an insult? They hit my blog, and
Wow.
completely useless. So over the years, I've kind of learned to stop writing my own blog posts because I'm only damaging my own SEO.
And who else could do it? Who
Yeah, I
else
mean,
could write
if you're
them?
gonna fail, do it spectacularly. That's what I say. Um, so
I don't
now I
believe that
only
it's been
post my
such a fail,
videos,
right? Yes,
just
let's
my
talk about
videos on the
the
blog.
videos because you have a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
which I sometimes visit. And I was telling you before that I visited your channel exactly at a time where you decided that we people who follow you and enjoy your work should work with you. So you gave us that chance. How did that come to your mind?
I actually think I stole the idea. Quite a few people do work
Mm.
with me videos, and I just thought it was so lovely, um, and charming. So I was just like, yeah, why not? Just set up a camera, film myself working. I have to cut the audio out because I do talk to myself a lot when I'm working. Um, so I have to kind of place some calming music over the top so I'm not disturbing anyone as I kind of chatter away to myself. But yeah, I just thought it'd be a really nice idea. But people tend to really respond well to the videos that are more personal.
Mm-hmm.
The day in the life of videos where I kind of take the camera around and show people what I'm doing, when I show people my inside my work bag and inside my work diary, people just love to see. I think it's just that human nature, the curiosity, isn't it? So
Yes, I
it's
have
just
to
kind
say
of
I did work
part of
with
that.
you for that hour.
Good. I'm
I did
glad.
it. You had your headphones on, and I'm like, okay, am I supposed to do the same? So
You're
I
like,
do it
what's
anyway, right?
everyone else doing?
So I am guilty. I did that. But you have other sorts of content where you actually interact
Yeah.
with the camera, let's say that. And so what kind of things do you write about and what comes to your mind? Or is it scripted? Is it more natural? Well, they feel natural, but I'm sure there's some thought before you post them, before
Yeah.
you write.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know it to watch the videos.
Right,
I do
sometimes.
kind of I do structure them,
Mm,
and I've got kind of headers and kind of notes that I go through of things I want to touch on. And to be honest, I could be a lot more scripted and concise with it. I have to cut so much out in the edit because I end up going off on tangents that are
it's true that you talk a
completely.
lot. So,
I
and I like
talk
that.
a
That's
lot.
why I watch it.
Some chap recently in the comments was like, "This is a great video, but it could have been shorter." And I was like, "Oh
Is
wow."
that a compliment?
Thanks for watching. At least he left a comment. I get the engagement off of that, so I can't be too angry.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, I do script them. Some of them are based on questions that I get sent, which
Mm,
was supposed to be the premise of the channel,
mm,
was answering questions that I'm regularly asked, but I don't get asked enough questions to facilitate
mm,
the format. So I tend to just take things that I've been asked just in conversations or in private chats or things that regularly come up, and I think, okay, there's a need for this
mm,
because I've been out there on the internet long enough now to kind of have established myself as someone who is happy to help. So that means that I do get a lot of people coming to me in my direct messages on LinkedIn or Twitter asking for advice. And although I
mm,
would love to be able to help everybody and kind of coach everyone through, there's just simply not enough time. So if I've if I've got an existing video, I'll help them out by sending those.
mm,
And if I don't, I'll be like, okay, well, that's where there's space for more content. And obviously YouTube analytics will show me what's doing well, and then I can kind of
mm,
guide the content according to that. But sometimes the most random stuff does well.
mm.
Um, and I just, at times like that, I just think it's impossible to predict. Like some videos that I've sat on for a while because I think they're a bit crap and not very good, and then I put them live and people just love it.
Yeah, because it's like, I'm not talking about the crap ones because I don't know what you mean. I've never seen
Oh,
one. So, but
I
the
like
truth
that.
is that you talk about your writing things, you put your tips out there, just say you should do this, you should do that. I did this and it worked for me and blah blah blah. But then you have a lot of things that are not specifically about the work that you do necessarily, but they can be applied to other freelancers. And that's what I thought it was so interesting. Because like, so you kind of have an overview of what the freelancing life is like for everybody out there that it's going down that path, right?
Yeah, people have a lot of questions. Obviously, before you go freelance, you kind of want to know what it's going to be like, what you can expect, what you need to do to get ready for it, because it's
Mm,
very much a mindset shift as well. And it does require an incredible amount of tenacity and resilience. And I just wanted to give a candid glimpse as to my experience and kind of how what based on that what I would recommend you do to get your ducks in a row before you
mm-hmm,
launch into it. And yeah, handling difficult clients or
mm-hmm.
making sure that you're earning enough and how to have those discussions and how
Serious stuff,
to,
huh?
yeah, just the basics, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to make sure no one's getting taken advantage of because I,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in conversation with a lot of young freelancers, I hear things that make me furious. So I want to make sure that people know that there are clients out there who will try and take the mickey and
Mm.
will push your boundaries. and how you can be prepared for that, and how you can have those conversations, and how you can set yourself up in such a way that you can deter people from even trying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I hear you. That's what I felt when I heard
Good.
you. So yes. So talking a little bit more about your specific line of work, as they say. So you focus a lot on something that is probably how the whole thing started, which is music, right? So I guess I think when I think about you, I think that your speciality is actually copywriting for music clients. So what are music clients?
So I've got a couple of different flavors of music client. I've written for music marketing agencies, helping them with their press releases and their blog content, because there's a lot of really interesting shift going on in the music industry at the moment with regard to the artists themselves taking back control of their music, of how it's produced, how it's distributed. I mean, historically, they've been basically, I think we can say, give or take in most circumstances, entering into slave contracts
Yes, yes.
where they're under crippling terms. They don't earn anything. The tour schedules are ridiculous. They don't even own the masters to their own music. And nowadays there's a lot more indie companies that are giving them kind of a pick and mix approach to management and to producing, and they're able to do what Matt Heafy from Trivium has done and get onto Twitch, and he streams his practices, and he makes more money from Twitch now than he actually makes from Trivium. There's lots of bands that have side projects, so it's a really exciting time to kind of be looking at them and seeing what they're doing, because bands like Bring Me the Horizon were still putting out music through the pandemic. They were producing it all themselves over Zoom. They were recording it in cupboards full of egg boxes. They were filming the videos themselves. They were kind of still going ahead and kind of showing the industry how outdated it is. So yeah, working with agencies to kind of talk on topics around that, which is very interesting to me, but also music journalism as well, and getting to explore the connection between two of my most favorite love languages, horror films and metal music. There is so much crossover. It's crazy. So much crossover. And so it's really nice to get to kind of delve into the themes and talk about, you know, movie soundtracks and metal stars that have been in horror films or directed horror films. And
is it a common situation?
Oh yeah. I mean, Rob Zombie from Rob Zombie, previously of White Zombie fame, he is a director of horror films now. He did 2 Halloween films. He's currently just released the Monsters film, and he also did a couple of other films, like a trilogy of 3 horror films back in the day as well. So he's a very well-known horror director and musician.
Right.
He's one of those unicorns that can really do it all. But yeah, there's a lot of crossover, and luckily my incredibly niche subject matter knowledge is useful in those situations.
Yes, now that you mention, actually, I was invited to a premiere of the very first, and it was a short, not a full-blown movie, zombie movie ever made in Portugal. And now that I'm thinking about it, the first part was actually by Moonspell, probably our best known, more international metal band that we have.
Cool.
So yes, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, there's so much crossover.
Yeah.
Glenn Danzig from Misfits has made probably one of the worst horror films of all time.
That's probably a good thing.
Oh, I love it. It's dreadful, and I'm obsessed with it.
So you like real gore stuff, or?
Yeah, but also just unnecessary nudity, nonsensical stories. None of it makes sense. It's awkward to watch. There are times when you just feel bad for the actor because the shot is lingering and they don't know what to do. And it hasn't been cut out and it's just left in there. It's awful, and I love it.
So you have a lot of material to write about and to.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Which is really, I know that people say you shouldn't necessarily monetize all your hobbies, but I think when it comes to things like film and music, there's so much that I get excited to discuss. It's nice to have an outlet so I can almost siphon off some of that energy, and get paid for it, which is
Yeah, you
also
do
a
everything at the
bonus.
same time, having fun, getting paid, all of it.
Yeah, but it can be a real it's not necessarily profitable because I'll put twice as much time and energy
I
into
hear
that
you.
because I want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm only being paid, like, the rates are not good for journalism compared to copywriting. So um it's not profitable. It is a labor of love.
Yes, of course. I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and sometimes it's just because of love. I know. So do
Exactly.
you still do? I know you used to do it. I'm not sure you still do it. You still have that service where you do some consultancy for people.
The
I don't
witching
know.
hour.
Yes, let's get into the witching part of things. But yeah,
Yes.
first the consultancy. Yes.
Yeah, well, as I was saying earlier, I do get approached by a lot of people who are kind of looking for help and advice. And I mean, for those that can afford it, it is nice to kind of be able to say, all right, here's a questionnaire. Tell me everything that you want. I'm going to go away and research and kind of put together something for you. And then we can come on a call and, I can probe around a bit more and talk you through an action plan, because I am the kind of person that just wants to come in and take control of your life and tell you what to do. I
Mhm.
always feel that life would be so much easier if I could just control everyone. So
Would
it's
it?
quite nice when someone's like, look, I'm really stuck, I'm just starting out, or I've kind of come to a place in my journey where I'm not sure where to go, like, what should I be doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm glad you asked. Here's an entire 12-step plan based on
Oh,
everything you've ever done in your life.
so there's a lot of mixing work and pleasure and all of that stuff.
Again, yeah, my need for ultimate control.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of give them a ton of resources and kind of
Mm.
talk them through, because sometimes they're not even necessarily more junior than me. They are writers or freelancers who are of the same level as me, but
Mhm.
because they are within their business
Yeah,
and within
they
their
want like a fresh
situation,
look.
there's no objectivity as
Mhm.
to what they should be doing. And sometimes it takes someone like-minded to be like, oh, I see what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Have you considered this? And sometimes it's just even as much as them saying, oh, I would like to be able to kind of work less and earn more. And for me to turn around and say, okay, well, how much are you charging?
Uh-huh.
And then when they tell me, I'm like, well, that's the problem. You need to put your rates up immediately. Um, and
Must
that's
feel
going to
good to
solve.
give that kind of advice, right? I was like, that's
Well, it's
just
one of those things that's easier said than done, isn't it? You
yes.
have to have the confidence to be able to pitch at that rate
Mhm.
without
And you don't
immediately
know
going in with a
many times,
discount.
yes, how to go about it and how to talk to
Yeah.
your existing clients and all of that stuff. So I guess yes, it's true. I mean, that's what I've done most of my professional career is to discuss rates with people while
Yes.
working for companies. So that was the bulk of my job for the last 9 years or so. So yes, I understand that it's much harder than it seems. Like you don't know what to say,
It's
how to
hard.
introduce the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of kind of, I have mine written on a postcard and
Mm.
I've got them on a cork board opposite my desk. So I'm
And you
always
have
looking at
them
them.
somewhere because I've it called my attention because they were in your website or somewhere, but I saw them.
Yep, I've
Your
got them on
basic
my
rates, I suppose.
website. Yeah. And I also have them written down in front of me every day. So the more I look at them, the less scary they become. And
Yes.
also knowing what you're going to say if somebody pushes back. Um, it's kind of nice to have answers ready to go, like that rationale. But also, I just get really, like I was saying before, I get really kind of protective over my fellow freelancers
Mm.
because we're the ones who set the bar for what we're worth in our line of work. And, if we all have the confidence to pitch what I would consider to be the national benchmark, according to studies done by pro copywriters
Mm.
within our industry, um, then we all benefit. And if someone's taking lower than they should, I just think, babe, don't do that, because
Yeah,
there's
sometimes
other
people
stuff.
just don't know how to
Yeah.
come up with those numbers.
Sometimes they just need someone to be like, everyone else is charging higher than you, and you think you're
Mm.
winning by being discount, but you're cheating yourself out of a decent living. So please don't do that.
Yeah. So what I really like about you is is how open you are about everything, I think, right? At least whatever you want us to feel like you are open about. And
Yeah.
so I knew you liked your metal. I knew you liked horror movies, all of that, just by watching the videos that I've been watching and reading your stuff and all of that. But there is one thing that we do have in common, more so than the musical side, because I'm more of a pop girl, a Madonna fan.
Oh, I do love pop, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I was
Right.
raised on Madonna, so I feel you.
Yes, who wasn't? That was one of the best parts of course, you're much younger than I am, but still. So I became a Madonna fan when I was 10, and my whole life has been, around that. And of course, I go off in tangents, and I listen to a lot of uh, Tibetan mantras, for example, and things like that. So that's my other
Well, mine was
Madonna and
Spice
mantras.
Girls, because I was a young kid in
Yes,
the
you
in
were.
the 90s. So Spice Girls was it came around at the right time, and I was like, I'm gonna
Yes.
be the Spice Girls when I grow up. And I like to think I've kind of done that in some
Yes, I
way.
think you have actually.
Gothic Spice.
Yes, a little bit, for sure. So, but there's one thing that we do have in common, and it's like undeniable. And looking at your the covers of your posts in your blog, for example, I saw a lot of tarot cards and things like that. So, what's the place of all of this in your mystical life?
I what I think I'd mentioned it to someone that I was into that, and immediately people in my freelance circle were immediately intrigued and wanted to
Hmm.
know more. And they were kind of everyone I'd spoken to had kind of dabbled in that,
Hmm.
but wanted to know more. So I was like, okay, I'm safe to talk more about this. And again, I think it goes back to that conversation around mindset and creating routines and environments in which you feel creative, but also you feel confident. And it's also about feeling as though you have some measure of control,
Hmm.
because I know
Hmm.
that there's going to be people out there that, are like, oh, you think you can see the future, and you think that you're Sabrina the Teenage Witch or something. And I just think, no, if I'm able to, smell lavender and feel relaxed, even if
Hmm.
it's a placebo, doesn't
Yes.
matter. If I feel relaxed, then it's worked. And I have taken an action to do something for myself because I've recognized that I feel stressed. And that
Hmm.
in itself is great. Doing a series of things to help you to help yourself. So I feel like magic kind of feeds into my freelance career in that sense. If I like to pull a tarot card for what's my freelance focus for the month of,
Exactly
you
like
know,
me.
yeah. And even if it's not telling me the future,
Mm.
but like if I get a card like the Empress, I'll be like, all right, well, how can I approach this month
Mm.
in feminine power and energy?
Yeah.
Who in, femme or female presenting that I know needs nurturing or needs a hand up? And so I'm kind of approaching things with a different view, which is really nice. It helps keep things fresh. It helps sharpen my awareness to different things. And um, it's just a much nicer way to go about things. I think I find it really helpful. And if I've got a kind of question, I'll get out, my pendulum or my tarot cards, and I'll be like, I'm kind of stuck. And then it almost gives you a new framework in which to view the situation and helps you work through it that way. And I think that's quite nice. Also, like journaling is definitely
Hmm.
magic somehow.
Yeah, for sure.
And even if you've got a problem and you pull a tarot card and then you journal around the theme of that card, I
Hmm.
find that quite helpful. And also, I guess you could call it basic potion work when you brew a cup of tea. if you have chamomile tea with honey, that's kind of, you've created a herbal potion, haven't you, really? If you
Yeah.
put cinnamon in your coffee, you've made a little kind of spicy, energetic rocket fuel or something. And if you're doing it all the while with an intention of like, I'm going to drink this and it's going to make me feel, energized and ready, then you've kind of done that work.
Even blessing your glass of water will actually change the way that you drink it and how you feel about it. It's just insane.
Exactly. Or
Yeah.
like having crystals around your desk
Oh,
space,
yes.
even if they're not mystical, from the thing, they make you feel a certain way when you look at them and you like them. That's
Yeah.
enough, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly my approach. I mean, I also I use all of that for everything. Whenever I feel like it just comes to me that I should go there and ask them, whomever they are. And I'm
Yeah.
sure something will come up. It doesn't matter what it is. And then sometimes it's just for you to shift that, like you say, state of mind and just go into something completely different. Start thinking about something you hadn't been thinking before. So I'm with you on that. So
Or
I find
like,
it amazing that you do all this like in front of people, because why wouldn't you, right? And it's just
yeah,
part
well,
of
I
who
mean,
you
there's
are.
people out there. Don't get me wrong, there's people out there, but the way I see it, there's always people out there. Do you know what I mean? You can do
Yeah.
anything. There's always going to be somebody who wants to sit there from their armchair, someone that's not doing anything, in fact, and wants to look at you and what you're doing and kind of have something to say about it. But I just think,
And you have to
you know,
help them have something to think about too.
yeah,
Or
I'm
else they're going
here.
to be
I
like, oh.
exist to provide something for them to be angry at, and that's my role in life.
Yeah, our role in life is to be ourselves, so that people can just, sometimes we just poke them and we just provoke them a little bit, and they have to do something about it, or else they just feel so uncomfortable. But that's already something. So that's my philosophy. You have to be who you are. That is your job in life, is to be
That's
who
the only
you
thing
are.
you can do as well. I mean, what's the alternative?
I don't
Be
know. People try to
miserable.
be somebody else in circumstances and in places, and they just try to hide behind those whatever masks they think they're wearing. I guess that's what they say, right? But it's just never understood what that means, and I think you're with me on that.
I also felt that nobody else was doing that, so it was something that I could own, and it has kind of led to a lot of other jobs, which I was hoping it would within
Mm-hmm.
that kind of
Oh.
sphere.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends who runs LinkedIn for Humans and also Freelancer magazine,
Mm-hmm.
Sophie Cross,
Yes.
last year she sent me a link to a magazine called Witchology magazine, and she was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know if you've heard of this, it's really cool, I
I've
think you'd
seen your
like it.
posts about all of that.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I should pitch to them in 2023. I'll put that on my list of goals that I want to do. And I'll think of something really cool and I'll go in hot and I'll pitch them. Lo and behold, before Christmas, they reached out to me looking
Oh,
for
wow.
a music feature editor to come on board with them permanently to help them with the magazine. And so, like, what a dream. I was able to come in there to talk about music as it pertains to witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a bit of a dream come true, really.
So you just put it out there in your own mind. Your friend thought about it, you thought about it, and then
Yeah,
all
I
of a
was
sudden,
like, yeah,
even before acting.
yeah. I was able to respond to the editor in chief and tell her I actually have on my list of things to do next year to pitch you, and you've beat me to it by several months. So
Wow.
it's fated. It must be.
I guess this is the most inspired way for us to just end our conversation.
A positive note.
Yes, for sure, because the idea is to show people that us people working with language, in language, whatever you want to call it, just have great lives.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're very happy because we do what we want. And
We get to live the art
yes, it's true.
that we do. Yeah.
Yeah, we love it, we live it, and we just ourselves trying to work on what we love, because we feel that we are at our best in those moments, right?
Agreed.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. This was amazing. I've wanted to talk to you for a long time.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's
So
been really
it's
fun.
finally happened. And I'm sure everybody will enjoy this conversation because you're great. And I'll continue to follow your work and your tips and watch your videos, co-work with you online, who knows? And yeah, look into that again. Thank you so much. And I really, really appreciate it. I think it was a great conversation, and I cannot wait to see what else you're going to put out in the world, more witchy or less.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks.